joining me is the producer of the show, Kylan Savage. How you doing, Kylan?
Hey, I'm gonna make it. Spiders and all.
Ugh. Also joining me today is AJ Simmons. How you doing, AJ?
Apparently, I don't want to be here since I tried
Yeah,
to leave.
yeah.
Soon as
Viewers
we gave
and
the
listeners.
intro,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I was like, wait, that's what I signed up for tonight? Whoops, wrong.
Um, as soon as we started the intro, AJ accidentally closed us out. So round two,
Accidentally.
we're off to a good start.
Hmm.
Um, so first off, today I just wanted to show a couple CDs that I got. This one's been on my wish list for a long time. It is, if I can get without a glare on it, Means,
Ooh,
um, who
what is
were
that?
a Canadian hardcore slash metalcore band. This is their EP that was independently released before they signed to Face Down Records.
Oh, cool.
It's only 4 songs, but it may actually be my favorite release by them. But
Sweet.
yeah, that's been on my list for a while. Also got Luna One Thirds. If I can get it
Oh
without the
yeah,
glare, which
I've seen that.
is,
I
have you
saw
seen
that.
that?
I saw that at
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble. Where
Okay.
remember I texted you guys? I was so mad because the Barnes and
Yeah.
Noble literally got rid of the entire. They had a whole wall of Criterion Collection, and now it's a whole wall of K-pop. Like,
they
okay.
they saw our videos and
Yep,
we
exactly.
converted Barnes and Noble into K-pop
That's
fans.
right.
Um, yeah, and also Rate Your Music, which I've been using since 2006 to catalog my music. They've been having where you can rate songs on albums for years, but it has not been a chart so you can see what the highest rated ones are. Well, they've dropped an actual chart for that now, so it's
Oh
pretty
wow.
cool to see like non-singles, that are getting pretty high ratings, because you could see a singles chart before, but now it's like every song. But
That's pretty cool.
I think the top 10 might all be singles, but I'll just mention them real quick. Top 10, number 10 is Katie's Song by Red House Painters. Number 9 is Paranoid Android by Radiohead. Number 8, Once in a Lifetime by Talking Heads. Number 7, Starless by King Crimson. Number 6, Life on Mars by David Bowie. Number 5, There's a Light That Never Goes Out by the Smiths. Number 4, Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles. Helpless Child by Swans is number 3. I have never understood the hype for this
Wow.
band.
Yeah.
Rate Your Music loves them.
Mm.
Number 2, Heroes by David Bowie. And number 1, A Day in the Life by the Beatles.
Wow. Two
So
David Bowies and
two
two Beatles.
Bowies, two Beatles.
Well,
Yeah.
and the Smith
Cool to
song.
see the Smiths up there, though. Yeah. But yeah, I was pretty excited to see that. Um,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
so yeah, today we are again continuing to talk about my favorite albums as I consider their charting in my favorite albums of all time.
So, Eric, can I
Yeah.
ask you before we go further, because I haven't clarified this with you. What is your system for choosing the order in which we go through these albums? I haven't looked at your list in a very long time. I don't know. Are you starting at the bottom and going up, or? But no, this is a high.
Well,
This is a big album for you. You just got a
yeah,
tattoo,
yeah,
right?
it,
Of
yeah.
this.
I just got a Shimmer tattoo.
Yeah.
This list it's private for
Okay.
until I'm settled on everything. So
Okay.
you can't. But there are,
So you have proprietary metrics for determining
yes.
the order in which we discuss these albums.
Um, the order, I'm just kind of going on what I really want to talk about.
Just vibing. I
Out of
love
those,
that.
yeah. The Evans Blue album was near the bottom. There's 26 or 27 albums I think that were on this list of albums that I'm considering as 5-star albums. Um,
Mm,
so yeah, I've been listening to Shimmer a lot and just kind of wanted to do that one today.
sweet. Love it.
Um, so the album is Shimmer by LunaHalo. What do you guys think of the cover art on this? It's it's kind of amateurish, but also kind of neat, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm confused by the Asian
Yeah,
influence.
it's all in the booklet too. Like
Okay.
I don't know what that means. And
Okay.
then there's also a random Asian child's face, it looks like, right here.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Does that d well,
It was the early 2000s. Wasn't like
yeah,
getting like Chinese and Japanese language tattoos like the rage then?
I yeah,
maybe. Hey
I
guys,
did read.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
mute myself for just a second, but y'all keep
Okay.
going.
Okay. I did read that I was reading an interview with them and they said that the poem at the end of the album that's read in Chinese or Japanese or whatever is they had a lady at the sushi restaurant. They paid her to read that for their album. So um, she did a pretty good job for, I guess, being not a voice actor. Um, so yeah, I don't know what all the Asian stuff's about. Album came out in 2000. LunaHalo's first album. They two of the members were in Reality Check, which were a decently popular Christian rock group in the late 90s, similar, I'd say, in style to DC Talk. I don't think they were, I think they were more a group of vocalists, you know, with a backing band, kind of like DC Talk rather than like a full on band. Um, Kylan, do you all know do you know Reality Check, the band?
That sounds really familiar, but
That
I can't off the top of my head place.
they they may be one you all get to eventually on Church Jams now.
Okay.
It's got a pretty good, decent fan base. Sometimes when I talk about this album online, will mention that they're sad that this album happened because it meant Reality Check broke up.
Mm.
Um, so the album was produced by Monroe Jones. I did not look and see anything else he produced, but I do enjoy the production on this. Nathan Barlow is the lead man. He did vocals, guitars, and Rhodes. Johnny McIntosh, lead guitar and keys. Brad Miner on bass. Jonathan Smith on drums and production. Um, After this album, I think Nathan Barlow was the only one left, and he recruited his brother and a couple other guys that made a more popular version of LunaHalo and who are reuniting to record a new EP this year, I believe.
How do you feel about that, Eric?
I kind of wish that they had just had a new band name when they
Right.
came. I don't know
I
why.
always feel weird about that when key creative components of a band
Yeah,
split ways and then someone decides to keep the name.
yeah.
That's always like a little weird to me.
I'm okay with it if you're set on that same direction.
Right.
And it's the next project is going to sound like an evolution of the previous, a natural evolution.
Right.
But when it sounds like a completely different band, I usually wish that the name had been changed.
For sure.
Um,
Are we going to talk about how Taylor Swift is a LunaHalo fan?
yeah, I didn't have that on my notes, but you're right. She covered
She covered
what's the song? Untouchable. Yeah.
Untouchable. There it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she covered Untouchable on the deluxe edition of Fearless,
Fearless.
and
And then
apparently,
redid it for the Taylor's version.
yeah, redid
And
it
then
for
she
Taylor's
just
version.
last year in Brazil or something, she did it live.
I did see that. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I wish it was a song on this album, but Untouchable
No, I know,
is a
but
pretty good song.
I
No,
feel
I
like
know.
if we're gonna
No, you're right. I'm glad you brought that up.
let's
Yeah.
now we can tag Taylor Swift in the episode, get those
Right.
algorithms working
Hashtag
for us.
Taylor Swift. Hashtag Swifty. What was I
Yeah.
going to say? Shifty.
Shifty.
um,
Hashtag shifty.
uh, yeah, I was reading an interview with them in 2000 from Jesus Freak Hideout. It's hard to believe that they have been doing what they're doing for so long.
Yeah.
But they mentioned their influences at this time as being Radiohead and Oasis. Radiohead, yeah.
I'm shocked by those two influences.
Nathan Barlow said Radiohead was his favorite band. He also mentioned loving Jars of Clay and Starflyer 59, and the Juliana Theory,
Nice.
which I
you-
thought was
yeah.
pretty cool. Nathan Barlow is now the music director for Keith Urban. He's like,
Oh, cool.
yeah, he runs Keith Urban's band basically, and has been doing that for quite a while.
That makes sense, and that'll tie into some of my notes later
Okay,
on in the
cool.
record. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Anything else before we dive into track one?
No, I will. You know what though? I will say, just for viewers and listeners, I did listen to this album multiple times.
I don't
And
believe it.
I
Good to-
know
good to
you
know.
guys don't. I know.
You went to Chat GTP and you're like, give me notes on
Give me notes.
LunaHalo Shimmer.
Yeah. No, I listened to it. I know you guys maybe don't believe me,
I believe you.
but I did.
Also, Kylan, is your rating system still going to be a 1 through 5 like last week, or did you switch it up?
Maybe. Who knows?
Okay.
On a scale of, Jack Antonoff to Aaron Sprinkles,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
scale. That's a
No,
scale.
I still like my Phases of the Moon. I'm gonna give.
Okay. Well, all right.
No. I'm gonna
As
do.
long
I'm
as
gonna-
as long as I can tell what is good and what is bad, then that's
Right.
fine.
Yeah. No, I'm still doing 1 through 5.
All right.
Yeah.
AJ, what is your rating system going to be?
What did I come up with? 0 through 3.
0 through 3.
Yeah.
All right.
Why not?
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, you
Never
can.
mind.
I'm a
You
data
can-
person. You have to
you
have a 0.
can-
You have to have a
Okay.
0.
Okay.
Ones and zeros, man. That's all about coding.
Yeah.
So why now you don't like the through 5 system? So why? What is the 0
0,
through
1, 2,
3?
3. It's a 4-point scale.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to music. I'm sorry, midpoints are bullshit, and research actually backs me up on this. Pardon
Okay.
me. You can play the Kevin Max like
Yeah.
there or something for that. But in my field, it is straight up like midpoints are nonsense on most questions, unless it's genuinely something like, how much do you know about nuclear physics?
Oh man. Okay.
Especially on music, you got opinions.
All right.
I did.
Deleting all of my 0.5s that I have.
For a long time on my rate your music, I only did 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 4.5s, and 5s. But I've reverted on that back to using the full scale. But
No, what's hilarious about like this when it comes to like measurement is my wife and I disagree on so many things, and this is one of the few things when it comes to like research methodology and measurement that we agree with. Midpoints are nonsense. And what I mean by that is like having a scale like a 1 to 5, like a 3. Nonsense. You neither like it or dislike. No, it's music. You either like it or you dislike it.
Well, I disagree with you.
yeah,
That's
I
fine.
did
You
too.
can be
on
wrong.
that. No.
That's fine.
I just okay. Well, I think for me, it's less about like liking or disliking. I think there can totally exist a space in which something like taking in art can be a neutral experience, right? Like this didn't hurt me in any way. I'm not going to seek it out, but I'm not upset that I experienced this. Do I want to experience it again? Maybe not. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So that means you liked it. Then if you didn't dislike it, you liked it.
I don't know,
When
but
it comes to art, man, I disagree. You either
well,
like it or you
I think
dislike it.
I think it's I guess for me my scale is more about the likelihood in which I'm going to like seek this out again. I think it's less about whether I liked or disliked. It's more about like what is the likelihood of me
Listening to it again.
continually engaging with this beyond having to do it for this purpose.
So
Yeah, my
your measurement has a different purpose than mine. Mine is whether I like it or not. So that's
All right.
fine.
All right.
It's
All
a
right.
different
All right.
point,
Cool.
yeah.
All right. I'm glad we cleared that up. That was just no. All right.
You'll probably hate my rating system then, AJ. I've got the 0.5 through 5 star rating, and then I also break it down even further. So like my 5 stars could be also between a 9.6 and a 10.0 to give the the degree to which I feel about them being 5 stars.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean by that. Like, I'm fine with like 3.5 or whatever. I've used it before, but what I mean is like I
Actual
don't like it or
midpoint.
dislike. Yeah, exactly. Literal midpoint on your scale. It's a 4 point scale is just, yeah. But you
Gotcha.
can have some
Okay.
shades in there of like, I don't know, depending on the day of the week, this is a 3 or a 2 on my scale. Like that I'm
Okay.
fine with, but it's still a like or dislike.
No,
Just
all
know
right.
also when you guys do any survey work or whatever, when they're analyzing your data for taking a survey, they just turn it into did they like it or not like it. That's how they take
Mm,
that 5 point scale.
right.
So
Okay.
that's what matters.
Hey, works for you. Last week, Rain did a 1 through 8 scale, which I thought was pretty
Oh
interesting.
no, that's fine. Hey, good for Rain. Good for Rain. Everybody has their system that works for them.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
purely kidding. Whatever works for you. I'm just not gonna
Yeah.
try and peer
No,
review
I
it
love
like
yeah,
an
yeah.
academic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I want everybody to bring their own rating scale because I feel like I don't know. I want the process to be enjoyable for everybody. All right. So track one is Aliens. So what I recall from their website back in the day is that all the like little space noises at the beginning of Aliens and elsewhere on the album are actual sound bites from space missions. So that's kind of cool.
Okay.
I still don't get the Asian influence, but I get the kind of space, you know, influences here.
Right.
I think the guitar in this is so sick. This
Mhm.
is to me, this is a perfect rock song. 5 star, 10.0,
Wow.
probably one of my top 30 favorite songs of all time. The I had never heard anything like this when I put this on. I had just started getting into like mainstream rock, but I'd not gotten into like Radiohead or
Smashing
any like
Pumpkins,
yeah,
like
like
2000 Smashing Pumpkins. This is what that sounds like to me.
well, yeah, no, yeah. I had heard like 1979 and Tonight Tonight, which wasn't exactly this flavor
No,
of rock. But yeah, it just sounded so like in his voice, the way it kind of sounds like a slithery. I don't know, kind of
like
feels
an
like a
alien.
Yeah,
description that
yeah.
yeah, yeah, creepy. And I just think the guitars sound great and heavy, and
Yeah.
it just kind of blew my mind. This album was my OK Computer. What OK Computer was to most
That makes
alternative
sense.
kids,
That makes
this was
sense.
mine.
Is that the record that it would be in like the Christian music store? Like if you like
If you like
Radiohead,
Yeah, I would say
like
so. Probably would
probably
have to be. Yeah, yeah.
which it okay, I don't know. I'm not a Radiohead fan at all.
Didn't know that. Okay.
we've
Like
talked about this, I think.
at all. I can't but and I was unaware of the Radiohead influence, but
I mean, you
that
did listen
that
to it, right?
I did listen to it.
See, I don't believe you now
Yeah.
because you're like, I was unaware of the Radiohead influence.
No, no, no,
I'm
no.
like,
Like unaware of him like specifically stating
oh,
the
Right.
that like
Right.
Radiohead was a big influence. Okay, so I did like this song, which is weird for me. It's very long. It's too long for me. That's honestly most of my notes for this record. Is that
Oh,
it's all
come
too
on.
long and it's too mid tempo. I can't do mid tempo. My brain cannot function in the mid tempo space.
Okay.
I need things to be very slow or very fast. And 99% of this album is like 90 beats per minute. It's like real like living in that space. Um,
Okay.
but I did really like this. I loved the production.
Yep.
I will say I also yeah, I wrote very Smashing Pumpkins. Um, and I was really into the song until like the last minute of the lyrics, he just says la la. And then it started to lose me. I was like, man,
Here.
just like finish your song because until then I was like 100% on board with where this was going.
But I really like that melody that they're doing to the
I
la la
know, so put
la's.
words
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. No, I get you. So what would your grade be for this song then, Kylan?
3.5.
All right.
It was a 4.5 until the Lalas.
Oh man.
I know.
All right, AJ, what did you think about this one?
Yeah, I have very Smashing Pumpkins and the like Machina, Machina, whatever
Mhm.
word you want to use there era. I did like the production, like Kylan said. It's a well done, well
Hmm.
crafted song. I like the I don't know, is metaphor the right word to use? I mean,
Mhm.
this is sort of like Kesha's spaceship, right, Kylan, to
A little bit,
connect
a little
in
bit.
defense of
Yeah,
Kesha. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Um. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a solid intro track. And it just happened to kind of coincide. It was funny because I queued this up to play after something else, and that was like a perfect transition from like crazy electronic music to this. Um, but yeah, I dug it. I have it as a 2 out of 3, so I liked
Okay.
it. My scale can roughly be adjusted to like didn't like it. Yeah, not terrible, but didn't love
Right.
it. Liked it and loved it.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Um, all right, we'll move on to Superman track 2. This was the lead single. It was on the popular Simply Impossible sampler that Christian bookstores used to have. If you bought, almost any album that Cordant distributed, you got that CD
Right.
free. Um, One of my favorite times of year was when they released that sampler every year
Yeah.
because I couldn't afford all the albums I wanted at that time, but I could get a little taste of all of them. Um, this song I like for what it is. I kind of it's a 4.5 for me. It's one of the few that's not 5 stars for
Mm,
me, just because it just lyrically it feels a little too simple, and I don't know.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't love it lyrically, but I like the guitars, weird guitars in every
Yeah.
song on this album. Um,
um
Kylan, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, well, also a 4.5 for me.
Nice.
This is my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
Yeah, but for me, just personally, lyrically, there was not a lot that I super resonated with.
Mm,
And the Superman thing at this point, I mean, I get it. It's like it's pretty cliched, but I like that everyone kind of has their own sort of interpretation of it. And this to me feels like a song that would be on Scrubs. Which
okay.
is
okay.
right, like I feel like this would be in mid-run Scrubs, like something happening in like a montage towards the end of an episode, and the
Mm,
production is just so good. It's so good. It's like everything you want in like a radio pop rock song.
yeah.
But then it switches it up and it does some like weird stuff. Like some of the string stuff is really
Yeah.
wild and out there.
Yeah.
And you can tell all these guys are like incredibly technically proficient. Like they're all like it honestly feels like like everyone in the band is like a session player, right? Who's like done this a ton. Like it's all really tight.
I think that's actually true of the career of
That
the.
would
I
make
think I
sense.
think the
Well,
drummer and bassist. I think were pretty much session players throughout the
yeah.
next
Well, and
so
then it
long.
makes sense that like the main guy became Keith Urban's like music producer. Like they
Yeah.
all sort of like it feels like they all sort of have that sensibility. Um because like strictly from like a musician's standpoint as well, like they're not doing 100% like typical pop stuff. Like they're
Mhm.
working within those bounds, but they're not just doing and this is gonna not make sense to anybody unless you're a musician, but like most pop songs are one like 1 5 6 4 chord progressions, and they're doing some like weird flat seventh stuff. Like it's just yeah, it's wild. Like
This is the
it's
kind of
something.
stuff that I like to hear from you, Kylan,
Yeah.
because I like to hear that there are cool things going on that I cannot make sense of.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Just
It's stuff that like and they make it seem really easy.
yeah.
But I can guarantee you from a musician standpoint, a lot of the stuff that they're doing is like not easy.
Mm, interesting. All right,
You
AJ,
often
what do you
joke
think?
like, "Why am I here? This is why you're here, Kylan."
Yeah.
Can't get rid of me.
So do you guys? I think the Manic Street Preachers. Do you know that? Yeah, okay,
Yes.
this is a Manic Street Preachers song, 100%
Oh
down to the
yeah.
strings and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of actually several notes of mine are like, okay, I got it. Yep, you've listened to Manic Street Preachers a lot. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like this is a 2 out of 3 for me as well. So somewhere in the like bop range. I think my one is like a
Mhm.
squeak bop. Is that like the equivalent of you're like, yeah, it's good. I don't dislike it.
Okay.
Right.
But I don't have a I don't care towards it. It's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So that's where this is at. Like you said, the Superman thing is kind of cliche, but this was also like 24 years ago. Was that before
Yeah,
like
that's
Three
true.
Doors Down doing like the
Oh yeah. That
kryptonite
was
Superman
Yeah.
thing?
yeah.
Like
Same year. Same
so
year. Yeah.
and I also think that's kind of interesting that the first one's aliens and the second one's Superman, and Superman's an alien, right? Like,
True.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's like a very like continuing that theme a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
this is
like
solid.
it
This
feels
is solid
like
Britpop.
it feels like there's like a concept album like bubbling underneath
Right.
this whole thing, like between like the Asian influence and the sci-fi kind of stuff that it doesn't really coalesce into anything in the way that I kind of wish it would, but I think that's also okay. Right?
Yeah.
Like I think it's fine that it doesn't. It's just kind of like vaguely cool for the year 2000.
Yeah.
Like I
I
think
don't.
that's enough.
Yeah. I mean, like Sparrow Records signed to these guys in Earthsuit, like to
Yeah.
put out albums that year. It's like
yeah.
that took some guts to
Mhm.
take chances on bands like this.
For sure. Everyone was feeling that Matrix fever.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yes.
Yeah.
There is an absolute kind of cyberpunk sort of
Uh-huh.
vibe to this. Like, I don't know, cyberpunk's like space exploration,
Right.
I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Guy Ritchie doing a space film almost. Because of the
I
Britpop
love that.
influence.
Yes. I love that. Oh my God. I would love to see Guy Ritchie's Matrix.
Right? That would be super interesting.
Y'all are losing me. I don't know anything
I
about
know.
movies.
That's fine.
Sorry. We're back. We're back. We're coming back.
No, you all feel free to discuss. I just can't. I
A
just
very
have nothing
witty
to add into.
British director that doing a space film.
Ah,
Yeah.
That would be kind of how I would describe that.
He's like if you like Guy Ritchie is like if you mixed Zack Snyder with Martin Scorsese.
Mm.
Like he does like British gangster kind of stuff. What? Yeah. Okay. No, AJ, we can talk about this when we're done. I'm trying to simplify it in like like what's the easiest entry points for people to get into it.
Okay.
That's actually I couldn't tell you what those guys did either. I know the names. I know Martin Scorsese, obviously,
All right.
but like I'm not a movie person, like at all.
Well,
Anyway,
then you're not going to
this
come on
being
my
music,
new movie
yeah.
podcast that I'm going to inevitably start after this.
I about a year and a half ago, I was determined to find that one movie that just like changes my life or that I totally resonate with.
Right.
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Really?
Really.
You've seen
High
the Muppet
Fidelity,
movie, right?
High Fidelity is like
Yes,
close.
High Fidelity is a great one.
500 Days of Summer is one of my favorites.
Empire Records?
I like Empire
Yes,
Records.
yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like movies have never moved me like music does. I don't know why. Like
Interesting.
some TV shows come close, but not movies.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's one of those things that gets cut in post.
No, for sure. No, for sure. I'm just genuinely
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm
yes.
such a movie guy.
No, I know.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
Pop culture. Yeah, I like movies, music, books. Like, let's roll
Yeah.
on all of it.
I wish I did. It's
Interesting.
just
No, I
Yeah.
love that though.
Fair enough.
It's wild. That's super
Yeah.
cool. Because music has been such a big part of my life for so long that like it's honestly at times it's hard for me to just immerse myself in a music listening experience, and I think that's because a lot of my like being a musician, like I can't fall asleep listening to music because I'm instantly just picking apart
Yeah.
like, oh man, that bass tone is really cool, or like I love that drum fill. Like I can't do that. And so movies for me are sort of like an escape from that. But I love hearing that like that's what music is for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, I want to find a movie that hits me like that, and like I
All right,
tried, but
Eric, okay, this is a new podcast. This is a new podcast where I try to
In
find
defense of movies.
the movie that changes Eric's life.
you can try, but if it's something that doesn't look interesting to me, I'm not going to waste an hour and a half of my life watching it. That's the thing. That's a long time to spend doing something that's you're going to go shrug at the end. Like I can do a 45-minute album,
Right. What
but
about an hour and a half long album though?
With people talking.
only if I it's like for a project or something like and it's one that I'm not already a fan of. Like
Okay.
the Swans album I listened to because I was trying to listen to all the
Right.
highly rated albums on Rate Your Music. It was very much a chore to get through, but it was a project that I wanted to complete.
Or how I feel about Jars of Clay self-titled.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
All right.
Edit point. Back into the show.
All
This
right.
is for the Patreon. This is the reason you have a Patreon for like stuff like this.
That reminds me, I need to shout out my Patreon subscriber Tim Rogers, who is my cousin and the best man in my wedding, and he's always there for me.
That's
Shout
awesome.
out to Tim. If you would like to become a Patreon subscriber, I'll have more on there by the time this comes out, but right now I have 7 mini reviews on there, including the new Starflyer, the new singles by Sixpence None the Richer and Skillet, Post Malone, a few other things already up there. I'll keep adding to that. Okay. Track 3 is Carry Me. This was, I think, one of the first ones. This is one of those albums that almost every song has been my favorite song at one time or another. This was one of the first favorite ones. I remember scribbling the lyrics on my notepad in high school
Nice.
in class. And it's kind of almost like a praise and worshipy song, but it was before that really like blew up. So
Well, yeah, for me, it's like if you asked the Beatles to write a praise and worship song, like this
Yeah.
feels really Beatles influenced to me.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
I
a lot,
agree with that.
like with these walk downs and the strings and stuff. Like it feels super Beatles.
There's another song on this album that was very influenced by the Beatles lyrically. I will
Oh, cool.
explain when we get to that one. Yeah. So what else do you think about this one, Kylan?
Okay, I'm gonna lose you again
Okay,
because I'm gonna talk about a movie.
go for it.
This to me feels like it could fit on AJ. I don't know if I don't know if you're gonna be on board either. But this feels like a song that I could see in Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which is one of my favorite movies, and the whole thing of I don't remember his name, but the guy that then starts to become like a Christian artist. Like I could see this, and just the songwriting style and the his vocal delivery feels a little bit of that like sort of alternative musical theater that was happening like in the mid 90s. So I dug this one a lot once I wrapped my head around the Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Also, fans of the show, probably if you're not aware of Hedwig and the Angry Inch, probably don't look it up.
So what score would you give this one, Kylan?
4.
4. All right, I gave this one. This is a 5 stars, 9.7, which is a very solid 5
Wow.
stars.
All right.
AJ, you're up. You're smiling. What do you got?
I hate this song. I have my description of it is it sounds like someone trying to write a worship track for a charismatic church in an old Kmart building.
Wow.
It is a very different vibe than the rest of the album, and it doesn't fit. This
Okay.
easily could have been cut and not hurt this album at all. And I feel so bad because you guys both speak highly of it. But it is so very worshipy and very Beatlesy, and I tolerate the Beatles. We've
Yeah, I'm
talked
not.
about this,
Yeah.
and I
I'm
recognize
not
their
a huge Beatles
contribution
fan.
to music,
Yeah.
to be clear.
That's me with
Um,
Radiohead.
right, yeah. It's like it's just not it's not for me.
Yeah.
Beach Boys, Stones, of all that old music there. But no, and I really tried, and I think I talked about like with you guys through text that like some of these tracks I like better with headphones on.
Yeah.
Right.
Particularly like my wife has noise canceling headphones because you pick up these like little things that are super neat. So I tried with these headphones, I tried with nice headphones, I tried with I have what's the other ones? I have the other ones are like wraparound ones. I genuinely listen and in the car. And I was like, I tried 4 different ways and I hate this. And I don't use that very strongly. Again, like this, my 0 is like I dislike this. No,
Right.
I this could have dropped off of the album and not hurt it one bit.
So you're a -1 on this one, right?
I think it's genuinely my own, not to spoil anything, but like my only score below a 2 on this album is
Oh,
this
wow.
this track.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Well,
The-
okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say like the cool little guitar parts and all that stuff at the end doesn't redeem it a little bit for you. No.
No, I just get
It just-
annoyed because it also
Okay.
jumps around a little bit. Like some of their songs seem to do that too, where I'm like, what are you trying to be?
Yeah.
Right.
And that, but sometimes it works, and this one it doesn't. Like, okay, Space Beatles.
Space
Beatles.
Again, right? Okay, worship band for Kmart Charismatic Church.
Yeah. See, okay.
Space Beatles.
So AJ, I was exactly where you are on my first listen of this. I fully wrote this off. And then for me personally, I found the sort of like musical theater Hedwig connection, and it changed it for me.
See,
But
and I should
get
like
it.
that,
I get exactly where you're coming from.
but I should like that. Like, I genuinely like alternative musicals. Like, Rent is one of my favorite like musicals and stuff like that. I just can't, man. Like this I have it's sort of an
I get
overall
it. I get
arching
it.
observation we'll talk about at the end, but this is the very worst of the things that I may have disliked later on, like throughout the album.
Right.
Like all of the worst things. Again, everything else is at least a 2. Spoiler. But like anytime I was like, oh, this little thing here and here, and it all just they come together as like a really bad Autobot like combination or Power Rangers Zord together
Or a
into
space
this song.
beetle.
Yeah, Space Beetle. Yes. Yeah.
Would hearing it in the year 2000 have influenced it or influenced your opinion any more positively or no?
I don't know if I would have necessarily trusted my 13-year-old self to to have thoughts on this. I probably would have been like, whatever, and moved on. Right, like it would have been fine. And like I don't dislike the worship. I mean, you guys have heard some stuff that I've written and worked on before. There's a strong worship vibe on some of that, but it's because the singer kind of wanted that sort of vibe.
Right.
And so I don't necessarily dislike that, but just it didn't land here.
Okay.
So
it's one that I don't enjoy now as much as I did when I first got the album, but I still think it's pretty great, which is why it's still a 5-star. It does venture very much, like you said, into the praise and worship thing, but I think I just love the guitars in this whole album so much. Even on this song, it like keeps it from being something that I don't like, but I can understand where you're coming from.
I don't know, like late 90s, early 2000s, like delirious worship kind of tunes are fine, but like this just didn't land for me.
Yeah.
Do you know any background on this album and Delirious? If not,
I just the one track later on, because I have what I think is a funny comment about that later on.
We'll get to that.
I will need a reminder because I think you did talk about that with me, maybe the both of us at some point, because I was like,
I know
I know some story about this.
Yeah, it was probably you on our 2000s episode. It's
there you
go.
When
I brought it up. Yeah,
there you go. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to take up that much time talking about
I know. I want
favorite track.
No, I want to hear these things I trust your all's musical
This might be the furthest
judgment.
away we ever are on something though, because it's like you got something at 5. I'm like, yeah, it's probably at least like a 2 on my scale.
Yeah.
And this, no,
Well,
no.
you
They
know.
needed the adult to come in and say, this guy go.
Right.
All
Well,
right.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like this album could have been just total like 15 minutes shorter.
Oh,
That's just
100%. Like, yeah,
that's
this album could have cut 2 tracks easily, and like
yeah,
the ends of some tracks to make this shorter.
that's my big
Like,
thing.
it should have
Yeah.
been a
There's
10-track song, a
All the
10-track
songs are
album
too
that went.
long. They're too long. They're all
Yeah,
too
and I say,
long.
and this is gonna come up later because like there is a slight like overlap with Angels and Airwaves, I think, on some of this, and
Mhm.
so it just, yeah. Anyway,
There's a song that got cut that's called Drift Away. I think it's on YouTube. I think it's called Drift Away. Uh and I'm like, I wish they would have also put this on that album. So, and they also did a great cover of Humble Thyself in the Sight of the Lord for the Listen Louder compilation that I also wish that was on this album. So it could have been worse in that regard, and I would have loved it even more. But I get it. All right, track 4 is Forgiveness. Kind of a U2 vibe, I think, on this one.
That's what I wrote.
The echoey guitars and just kind of gives you like that floating kind of vibe, I think.
Right.
And
Well, even that chord progression and having the bass holding that down with like just like solid 16th notes and going up, it goes from like a 1 to a 2 to a 4, like yeah, it's super U2.
yeah, this is one of the ones that it was one of my later favorites on it, but yeah, it's a 5-star 9.8 for me. It's in my top 250 favorite songs of all time. Um, just a great like driving song with the windows down
Mhm.
and sun going down, or
It's
just
a very like autumnal song for me.
yeah,
Like
it just gives good vibes, I think. Um, yeah. Kylan, did you have anything else on it?
no. I mean, the real U2.
What's your score?
I'd put this at a 4.
Okay. All right, AJ, what do you think about this one?
so this is my favorite track on the album.
Oh, nice.
It's got, and I just mentioned them, like this nice like little Angels and Airwaves type intro, which
Mhm.
again, Angels and Airwaves borrows a lot from U2.
Yeah.
But then it cuts in like this very Manic Street Preachers vibe again. It's got like this pop accessibility to it, but there's like sense of like reflection, appreciation. Like there's like
Mhm.
there's something more to it. But it's got like a heart as well to it that this doesn't feel like overly manufactured. Like this kind of to me feels like the most genuine song on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is also the one that I text you guys about, that like every time it came
Yeah.
on, I was like, which one is it? What's the song called again? Because I like this one. So
Yeah.
it was this one. Yeah. So this is a 3 out of 3 for
Awesome.
me. Best, or at least my favorite track on the album.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything else on that one or not. It's just
We
just a
talk
great
less when the
song.
songs are good.
Yeah. I guess we'll go to number 5, Wait for You. I like the verses significantly more than the chorus of the song for some reason. It's like it's got that same creepy vibe as Aliens, I think, in the verses, and then in the chorus it goes more like
it goes from a minor key to a major key. Like on the verses, it's real like minor, almost a little like proto Love Drug. A little
yeah.
bit.
Ooh.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There you go.
Still a 9.7 though, because I love
okay.
the 9.75 star, because I do love the verses so much, and I do enjoy the chorus. It's just very,
but they
different.
almost feel like two different songs.
Yeah.
To me, which puts us at a 3.5 for me.
Okay.
I'm just like, yeah, I think I maybe enjoy the choruses more than you do. It just as a whole, the song feels a little more sort of disconnected, like sort of
Yeah,
like cut and paste, like they had this idea for maybe another song and then they just sort of like pushed it all together.
yeah, definitely. I agree with that. AJ?
2 out of 3 for me. Smashing Pumpkins and their Machina era again, kind of going from that like calm to explosive with a catchy chorus. A little angsty, a little sad. But yeah, I liked this one. One of the things that I actually forgot to mention on the last one real quick is that it's the biggest proof of how much of a vibe guy I am because it has the worst opening line of the entire album on Forgiveness. And then the rest of the album, like the rest of the song is really good, but that opening song, you're like, so they recycle rain? Like, what is that? Like they pick
Right.
the rain back up and then they drop it back down? Is that anyway? But for Wait for You, yeah, very Pumpkins, but good.
Yeah.
2 out of 3.
All right.
Nice.
We can go to number 6, Heaven. Um, this one stylistically, I think, is more similar to Superman than a lot of
Yeah,
others.
it's very like 2000s WB teen show,
oh yeah,
which I love.
yeah. It, it was one of the slower growers on me, but it is a 4.5, 9.4. It's another one that like without the cool guitar stuff and the like the guitar solo and whatnot in it, like I don't know that it would be a 4.5 because it's just a solid like pop rock song, which is typically like a 4 for me.
Right.
But the cool guitar stuff rescues it, and I love the harmonies and things in it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
the harmonies make it feel like pretty like Third Eye Blind
yeah,
for me. Like they're uh, trying to hit that kind of zone, I feel like.
yeah, yeah. Um, what else you got on this one, Kyle?
Um,
Or score, if nothing else.
3.75.
Okay. Uh
Can I add some increments?
oh. Look, you've hurt AJ's ear by saying that.
I did. I'm surprised he hasn't left yet.
AJ, how do you feel about this one?
It's 2 out of 3. I did only note on this is Manic Street Preachers would like a word. Because this really does feel like the strongest I think next to Superman, which is why I
Yeah,
think
Yeah.
that there's an interesting kind of connection there. That it's like, yeah,
yeah,
okay. Did Richie Edwards? Is this when he disappeared from Manic Street Preachers? Did he come over here and write a few songs with you?
Maybe.
Um, but yeah, it just that's literally the only note I have. But 2 out of 3.
okay. All right. We'll move on to number 7. Hang on to you,
Yeah,
which
tell the story again because I
was
don't remember it.
okay.
It got just deleted from my brain. I apologize.
So, from reading the interview, I found out a little more context. The record label wanted them to have another single on the album, and they said we have done all we can do on this album. So they were like, well, Martin Smith from Delirious has the song or whatever uh, that you all can have. So they recorded it. They added, I think the outro lyrics and things. They added that was not part of Delirious's, um, whatever on it. But
Right.
they so they added that, and then it turns out after LunaHalo had recorded it, Delirious decided that they wanted to record the song. So LunaHalo got the song thinking that it was one they didn't want, and then Delirious ends up recording it and putting it on their Glow album. And from what I read in the interview, they said there's no animosity between the bands, but it was more of a label thing or whatever. But I don't know. I get the sense that LunaHalo was not very happy about that. But I think their
Yeah.
version is actually significantly better than Delirious's. So I don't hate it. But it's a very, obviously Delirious wrote it. It's a praise and worship song, but it's got some good, rock stuff going on, some cool melodies. It's a 9.65 stars for me.
Mm.
Kylan, what do you think?
Um, yeah, I think I'd put this at like a 3.5.
Okay.
I'm just so here's the thing. At this point, I'm starting to dip.
Uh-oh.
Just generally with the album, a lot of
Okay.
it's just a little too long.
Okay.
And a little too mid-tempo
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
for me personally. Like all the individual elements of this song, I really enjoy, and I think if I just heard this on its own, I would be maybe a lot more into it. But at this point, I'm just like, okay, here's another song at 90 BPM. But like, okay, the drum treatment's a little bit different, so it's like there's some interest there. But I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, it's okay.
I feel like they did a real good song of making not distinguishing every song from another though.
Right.
Like I mean, like this, like Heaven was stylistically similar to Superman, but obviously, like the strings aren't the main element
Right.
of Heaven like it is Superman. I feel like they did a good job of each song having its kind of own thing, which I would have hoped for you. How you kind of get bored with long albums. I was hoping that would kind of keep you
We'll see.
interested for a
We'll see.
little longer,
We'll
but
see. There. My interest gets piqued uh, a little further in the album
okay.
again.
All
So
right. AJ, how do you feel about this?
So I have it as a 2 out of 3. And funny enough, I actually think this is the less Smashing Pumpkins sounding version of the song out of theirs and Delirious.
Mm,
I like LunaHalo's version much more, which is
yeah.
funny to go off of the comment earlier where I was like, Delirious is doing
Yeah.
better worship songs. And one of my notes, and so I'm glad you explained, I was like, I don't get why they felt the need to include this cover. This album was already long. They had other tracks. What were the singles? Maybe you would help too, to like, why in the world do you feel you need to include this? But yeah, this feels like this also should have been included in like a late 90s, early 2000s, like rom-com
yeah.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like their version better than Delirious, but I don't know why this needed to happen.
Yeah. I think Nathan Barlow's vocals are so much more appealing to me than Martin Smith's. I think that's a big reason
Interesting. Okay.
why I prefer this version. But yeah, solid song. Anything else on that one?
I don't think so.
All
At
right.
least not so far.
Go to track 8 so far. This one starts right off the bat with some wacky guitar stuff that I really like.
Shine wants their guitar line back. Like oh yeah. But then
Yeah,
it
I
goes
can hear that.
crazy. And
Yeah.
it's like, all right, let's add some wah onto everything.
So this song is about the Beatles looking to every kind of religion to find whatever is
interesting.
they find fulfilling, and not being able to find anything in the end is so the song is kind of left without a solution, I think. But um that's the meaning of the song, which I didn't know till I read that interview. It's a 4.5 star, 9.4 for me. Still absolutely fantastic, but one of the three 4.5s on the album for me. AJ, what do you think?
So I think this is one of the songs on the album that it really mattered if I had headphones on or not when I was listening to it. So it bounced somewhere between a 2 and a 3 for me, depending on what I was, how I was listening to it. I dig the delay, and like guitar work in the intro. They're very much back on like their Manic Street Preacher vibes on this. Though the guitar work at like the 90 seconds or so into the song are kind of Smashing Pumpkins. They have the whole like instrumental part at like the 3 minute mark that I like, and I
Yeah.
normally don't necessarily like instrumental breakdown parts
Oh,
of
really?
songs.
Interesting.
But it works here. And so I dug this track. Yeah, it just mattered a lot because I think of so much of the stuff they were trying to do with the instruments, how
Yeah.
I was consuming it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Music guy, help me make sense of that
well,
statement.
okay. I think, it once again it goes back to uh they had up to this point so much of the album, like they they stick within the a sort of similar range of like mid-tempo song, and this even is a mid-tempo song, but the drums are a little bit more driving.
They're different, right?
Because before, like these are more like straightforward rock drums. Everything kind of, the past couple tracks before this, everything's like in the pocket. They're just sort of like grooving. It's a lot more groovy. And this feels like a little bit more rock. Uh, I don't know. It's just like it's pushing the song forward in a way.
This cookie
Um,
cutter.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd put this one at a 4.25.
All right.
There you go.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
I think the album at this point needed a little bit of injection of energy. Things are starting to feel pretty samey for
Yeah,
me.
I feel like it's sequenced pretty well, the album.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do think they could have cut like two
Right.
tracks and it would have been like flawless. But yeah, I think especially for a track, what number is this? 8?
8.
Yeah, for a
Yeah.
track 8, like this makes a lot of sense to me to like
Yeah.
bring it up like just a little bit before you like start to get super bored. And AJ, I kind of agree with you with the like the way you listen to it. Um because so much of this album, because it does hit that technical proficiency, um, to me, it kind of does it in a way that it, unless I'm actively engaged in it, like by listening through headphones, it's really easy to tune out because
Mhm.
it's technically proficient in the way that like a TV show composer is like technically proficient, and you can like kind of tune out a lot of that stuff unless you're like actively engaged.
Almost too perfect.
Yeah, like it's almost like too good because like
Yeah.
kind of what to expect. Like it's following that pop rock formula
Hmm.
to such an extent that like yeah, and unless you really know what to look for, and I'm just speaking for someone that has zero nostalgia for this
Hmm.
album, right?
Yeah.
Like coming to it where I'm at now, like in my 30s,
Right.
it's really easy to tune out a lot of stuff on this record,
Hmm.
which is like, I don't know, it feels like a weird kind of like backhanded compliment. Like,
I get what
like,
you're saying. I get
like
what
I
you're
have,
saying.
yeah, I have a similar comment. Do I want to save it for the end, or yeah, I want to save mine for the end.
all right, save it.
It-
Save it for
I'm
the
a,
end. Save it
I
for the
am,
end.
but no, I have a very similar thing. A lot of parts are in the right places.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to track number 9, Running Away. Um, this one I think stylistically is kind of similar to Forgiveness, has that,
Hmm.
U2-esque vibe to it. Um, I think the verse melodies are pretty beautiful, and it's it's another 9.8 for
Oh
me,
wow.
5-star. So in my top 250 favorite songs. Um, I just really like songs that I can envision. I know I mentioned this so much that I can envision driving with the sun going down on the beach, windows down, upper 60-degree temperature.
For not being a movie guy, you think about this music so
Right,
cinematically.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with
I
that
don't.
100%.
Uh, I need to see the Drive movie. I think maybe that would be
Oh yeah.
maybe that would be the one. I don't know.
Oh no, that's such a good movie. That
Is
genuinely
it?
is, and the music is
Yeah.
used perfectly in that movie,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That this is a song that like. Why was this not a huge like Christian pop rock radio
For sure.
song? I feel like. But yeah, Colin, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, this could have been on the OC, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love that like we kind of go back to that almost like U2-esque
Hmm.
uh bass. Like the bass is what makes this song. It's just holding it down. It's not doing anything super special, but it's there. It's laying that foundation for the whole song. Um, I would put this at a 3.75.
All right. So, Colin, the way you're going right now, you're trending towards Aliens being one of the two songs that you would cut, and
I might.
that that sounds really wild to me because
Well,
that's
I started. I will say I started this episode in a little bit more of like a grumpier place than I am right now,
okay.
and you know,
The spiders.
it's right. The spiders in the corner,
Yeah.
they're just, you know,
We're all spiders hanging by a thread, right?
I you know, I have if anyone watching or listening to this has listened to Church Jams now, you should know I've given up the idea of being objective a long time ago, and so much of my listening experiences I think depends on the week, the
Yeah, heck
day,
yeah.
the moment that I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
And
How those notes hit on that day.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I listened to this album all the way through fully twice
Okay.
over the past week, and then kind of, you know, have revisited certain songs throughout the week. And I've had a mostly grumpy week.
Oh, bummer.
But you know, but then having this conversation and I don't know how much of this we're gonna put in the episode, but like, you know, we're listening to these songs sort of underneath, like as we're having the conversation, and it's like in real time, like making me revisit a lot of my initial perceptions on the album,
I
and
love that.
it's kind of changing a lot for me. Just as like clarification, when I sound confused right before I give my rating, it's because I'm genuinely like reconsidering my initial rating versus like how I'm kind of feeling about it now
Right.
within the context of this conversation.
Right. Well, that makes sense because I mean you've only had a week, to dig into an album. That's not
Right.
enough time for
Yeah.
the
I mean,
songs to
you've had
really,
almost a quarter of
develop.
a century to deal with this album, right? Like, and I've had 7 days.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I love that the songs are still kind of morphing to the good
Yeah, yeah,
for you.
yeah, yeah.
All right, AJ, what do you think about this one?
This is somewhere between a two and a three, and again, it depends on how I'm
Yeah,
listening to it, but I do think it's my second favorite track on the
nice.
Oh,
album.
cool.
And again, this might be a super obscure reference, and I apologize, but somebody was listening to the Dandy Warhols when they wrote this
Mm,
track, Bohemian Like You. That intro,
100%. Oh, yeah.
100% is
Oh,
Bohemian Like You.
100%.
Right? Like, absolutely. This also uses some electronic tricks that some of the other tracks don't as much, which I think impacts it. And that, but I think that matters for how you're listening to it then, because you kind of need to have the headphones
Yeah,
wrapped around to pick up on some of the different noises they've
definitely.
got. It's catchy. I think that if more of the songs were like this one, this would be maybe a bit more of an interesting album to me. It's not that,
Yeah.
again, this goes to a point that I'm gonna make at the end. Not a bad album at all. It's, fine. It's
Yeah.
good. I like it. But this is more interesting to me.
Hmm.
Um, and I think would have been a little bit more interesting to do more of this. A lot of, in my opinion, Christian bands around this time were like, yeah, we're trying to be like U2 because like because U2
Yeah.
was weirdly like sort of Christian, but like not
Yeah.
like overtly Irish Catholic might be the more way to describe U2. And so there's so many Christian bands in like the late 90s, early 2000s, I think in particular, that were kind of doing this.
Oh
Like
yeah.
if you were like, hey, Christian Dandy Warhols, I'd be like, what was that?
Yeah.
Tell me more. You have
Yeah.
my attention.
Yeah.
So yeah.
U2 charted on the Christian charts for 1 week with the Joshua Tree, which I always found interesting. I guess it must have charted when it came out. They're like, no, we don't want any part of that. So it was gone after that.
Yeah, so
Um,
then like 200 bands came in, and
yeah.
we're like, fine, we'll be the Christian
Yeah,
U2.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
They needed a Christian Dandy Warhols, all right, fighting on
I love
stage
that.
with each
Yes.
other. Like,
Yes.
come on, it would have been super interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this is my second favorite track on the album.
And
Sweet.
I could add this to pretty much any song, but the guitar solo and this one is
It's
freaking
good.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, like technically good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Track 10, Beautiful. This is a bit of a curveball, almost like they were maybe listening to a little bit of trip hop
Yeah,
or
I hated
something.
this song.
You hated this one?
I really did.
I get that. It would be my least favorite if not for like uh just experiences I was going through when this album came out that I really
Right.
liked. I gravitated towards this one. But yeah, it feels like it's probably the song that least fits with the rest on here.
Well,
But I don't
for
know. I dig
me,
it.
like the biggest thing is like they decided to go for that like super like metal, new metal snare sound.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like
Thank you.
we're
All
we're
right, I feel
just
like a good music man that I picked
we're
up on that. All right,
like
I have one of my notes is that this kind of gets a little new metal-y at times.
yeah, it's like I don't know if you guys have seen there's like a TikTok of a guy um and like the premise of it is like recording the drums for Saint Anger by Metallica, and he's playing an actual drum kit, but instead of a snare drum, he's playing an empty beer keg. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what this sounds like. Like it's like it's almost like a bell. It's like
Right.
it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
My opening note on this is I really dig the drum work on this one. It
Nice.
stands out to me. It is. It
It
is so
does.
different than the
Yeah,
rest
yeah.
of the
No,
album.
it does.
It's got this
But
worship vibe, but it's not cheesy, and it's not Kmart Charismatic Church cheesy.
right.
But it does. I have the new metal line right here, and so I
Yeah.
feel pretty good about that one. But there's like strings and electronics. Like, did Papa Roach and Manic Street Preachers come together to write a
Yeah,
track?
yeah.
It can't pick a lane. It can't. Like 100%. This is one of the points that I made earlier a little bit.
That's
Like
the
at
thing
times
is
you're like,
like
what genre are you going for? Not only on the album, but like in each song.
Yeah.
But I feel like in this one it sort of works the most where I'm like, this is somehow the most chaotic and also
right,
like it works for
right.
me. It's a 2 out of 3,
That's
but like
interesting.
it's a
Okay.
strong 2.
Right. Like
Yeah.
it's also yeah, it almost reminds me of a little bit of like early Skillet of that kind
Oh,
of
don't.
like
Why?
Yeah.
Oh.
I see what you're saying, but yeah, I don't know if I'd.
That's just mean.
I don't know. Listen, if there I think the thing that was off-putting to me is one, this is so far down on the track list, and there's nothing else like it. And it's kind
Yeah.
of speaking to AJ's point of like there's not as much cohesion among the entire album as I would like. Like it just felt like every song they were like, oh, this is like one cool idea, but then they don't tie it into anything else on the record.
DC
And
Talk
it feels
Jesus
like
Freak.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get that, and I usually dislike albums like that. I'm not sure why this one works so well for me, except like the only thing I think that ties. Well, I think there are enough elements that make it connect. The vocals kind of keep that, either
He's got
going,
unique vocals.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
and they keep the harmonies sounding pretty good, and They have the guitar, the cool guitar parts in almost every song. I think every song has some of the elements that I enjoy in all the others, but yes, stylistically, it does vary quite a bit. Which like that's why I don't like listening to albums by like Beck, because it's like he's trying to do like every genre like on, and
Right, right.
so that kind of thing doesn't usually work for me, but it does on this album for some reason.
I'll say
Uh,
lyrically, I find this track to be really interesting because I feel like he like delivers the tracks in a really earnest way. But in
mhm,
my head, and Kylan and I text you a bit about this about other songs of like I can hear a version in my head that is like super melancholic or angsty
Hmm.
that almost takes the exact same words, but you're like, all right, let's mess with how this is delivered. Let's mess with the
Right.
music a little bit, and you're like, there's some snark there now that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that would so it I think that like I said lyrically this is well done, but and maybe not, but
Yeah, I
and I
mean,
would like to hear somebody do a neat version of this that maybe takes that earnestness and is like, yeah, uh, you're hiding something from me a little bit.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna get the real
yeah.
version of you.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, like what ultimately makes this album not something that I super connect with is it kind of goes back to the Radiohead thing of like I feel like they're all like so good at what they do that they spent so much time kind of like getting granular on this album and like and experimenting, which I typically like really love experimentation on an album and on songs in particular. Um, I kind of got lost emotionally. Like I don't, once again, I like having no nostalgia for this record. Um, the biggest sense that I got was they had a lot of fun, like being musicians of a certain caliber, like going into the studio and like really digging into like the nitty gritty of like every song and of like, oh, like what if we added this here and what if we played with this tone here? That the emotional essence of most of the songs just didn't grab me. Like I didn't connect emotionally the way that I did intellectually.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Huh, I like that. I like the way you put it, anyways.
Thank you. Thank you.
um,
I know you fully disagree, but I'm glad you appreciate how I word it.
I'm really fascinated by like something. This album's like part of my DNA. So hearing you
Right.
all having, just encountering it now, like it's just
Yeah.
so fascinating to me. So sorry if I'm not talking as much and you
No,
all
no, you're
talking.
good, man. You're good.
Uh
This is
so
the whole thing.
so what score would you give Beautiful Kylan?
2.
Two. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Track 11 is Complacent.
Kind of like how this band feels at times.
Ooh.
Zing. Um This is probably my second favorite song on the album. Um, it's got the whole creepy spacey thing that I really enjoy. Um, I would not have like the only thing that I think that could have made this album better for me was if they had more songs like Complacent and Aliens, like uh maybe in place of like Heaven and So Far. Um,
Well, that's the thing is like, yeah, like if they had like picked a lane a little bit more,
yeah,
like if they had more stuff like this, I think I would appreciate it more.
yeah. Like I feel like this set the template for the music I love most now. Like Falling Up's Your Sparkling Death Cometh is very similar vibe wise to this song, I think. Um, so I feel like this was like the precursor to Like this was my first taste of the music that I would really come to love when I discovered it or when it was out there.
There's sort of like
Um,
Yeah,
this post-punk vibe to this, right? It's got those like that reverb that to like create swirling guitars. Does
yeah,
yeah,
that make sense to you?
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But I do think this is probably the most Radiohead sounding track on the
Mm,
album, but like Radiohead mixed with like an early 2000s indie post-punk band. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Proto Love Drug.
Proto
Do you
Block
all?
Party.
This is
Oh
kind
yeah,
of this
yeah.
is kind of off topic. Do y'all remember the song "To the Moon and Back" by Savage Garden?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This I feel like that is also one of the precursors to the
Yeah,
music I love now.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
that song, this album, or maybe like the two things that I loved in high school that I feel like are stylistically the things that I love now.
Yeah. Yeah, this like it I was happy that they at least were consistent with like keeping it minor key.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, I don't know, so much of this album almost felt like every song was like an audition to be on a different type of late 90s early 2000s media. Like this could almost be on like the Underworld soundtrack.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
You're
and
venturing on some holy ground there, man, for me. So
well, hey, I don't
I get
mean
what you're
that
saying.
as
I
I
get
don't
what
mean that like
no, I get what you
in a
mean. I do.
disrespecting way
Yes.
because I love Underworld.
yeah.
It is the Fast and Furious movies for goth kids.
Oh, AJ, do we need to start an Underworld podcast? Because I freaking love Underworld, and I could
Just
talk
do
about
it
it
in
all
defense of.
night in
Next
defense of
season.
Underworld. I
I
love
guess I need to
all of
watch
them.
that one. I had the
Yep.
soundtracks, but I never saw the movies.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Eric, it's gonna change your life. I
Okay, we'll see.
guarantee it.
For the Halloween season, maybe in defense of
Yeah,
Underworld here.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know. I like the song. To me, it felt like one, it was like too little too late because like it was so far down on the track list and it was like so different
Yeah.
that this ended up just being a 3 for me.
Okay. All right. AJ, what do you think?
this is a two, but like a soft two.
Interesting. So I guess I like this one significantly more than you guys do.
It's good. I think it suffers from the placement on the album and for not
Yeah.
having uh anything else like super like it besides like aliens. I get like I don't know. At this point I was just confused about like what kind of band does this band want to be?
See, this one is stylistically similar to their cover of "Humble Yourself in the Sight of the Lord," which
Mm,
see they should have totally put that on here. And
yeah.
yeah, uh, AJ, what do you think? Oh, you already said
Yeah,
it. Sorry.
two out there, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Um. So ready to go to track 12, "The Way to Your Heart."
That's right. Last track.
All right.
I don't know if I could ever push you hard enough.
There's kind of like three parts to this song.
I
You've got
know.
The song that never ends.
yeah,
Just two more parts that it needs.
you've got yeah. No, it needs part two. It doesn't need part three, which is the poem in an Asian language. Part two, though, the pretty awesome guitar uh solo off. I don't know what you'd call it. It's
Worship.
pretty cool, I think. Yeah, yeah. And this, I don't know. I think it's a pretty solid Beatles esque kind of ballad, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think, Kylan? Don't
No.
like it?
You know,
I'm
put your
done.
hands up
I'm
and like
done.
worship to
This
this. Come
album is
on.
already so long. I don't need the weird like Weedus doing a Matt Redman song thing that happens in the beginning of this. Yeah, I was like kind of fully tapped out of the album at this point. Once
All
again,
right.
the whole album is too long.
Mhm.
I think you could have if you're just a little more precise overall. And then this song, yeah, especially like the stuff at the end just feels so unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, get this out of here.
So what are you scoring this one?
Like a 2.5, a 2.
2.5.
I don't know.
All right.
Let's split the difference. Call it 2.25.
2.25. All right. AJ, what do you think?
I have it as a 2 out of 3, but
Okay.
again, like a soft 2. Like the interesting thing about the intro, the first, I don't know, it's like 10 or 15 seconds of the song feels like it's building up, almost like, again, super obscure, and I apologize. Like the intro to 2 More Years by Block Party, where it's like,
Oh
like
yeah.
it's building up and then it doesn't. It doesn't build up. It just stays mellow. Which feels like super weird, and then like transitions into this worship song, and then yeah, like then weirdly transitions again, and then transitions into, I think, Japanese at the end. So it just felt like a very strange song that again technically sounded fine. And again, you kind of like, okay, yeah, you like a charismatic church, but they're throwing their hands up and they're swaying to this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
but yeah, I think tired is a good way to put that. Kylan, by the end, you're like, "Ah, I'm done.
Yeah. You cut
It's
like
not bad.
if
It's
you
just
cut like
done.
3 songs from this,
Yeah,
I
then this is
think
fine.
I think you could totally have this as a final track.
Yeah,
At this point though,
yeah,
too much. Too
yeah. Like
much
that's
song.
fair.
soft too.
That's fair. All right. So I guess
Wait,
it's
Eric,
time. Well, yeah.
what do you put
Oh,
this
did
at?
I not score that one? Oh, that's a 9.7, 5 stars for me.
Okay. All right.
Sounded really good in my mom's Sebring convertible back in the day. So
There you go.
Yeah.
um
Well, here's the thing though, Eric, I think you have much more patience than I do as a person, right? Like, because the thing is, like, all of these songs, like, individually, I really enjoy. But when I'm listening within the context of the entire album, is when I start to get a little bit, like, grumpy. But you seem to be able to, like, engage with each of these songs sort of like on their own terms
yeah, I
in
like
a
to
way that I don't think I'm necessarily able to.
that's why I like scoring each track because I feel like if you just take the album, it is based too much on how you're feeling and things, or
Right.
even how you're left feeling at the end. You can't look and see, oh, I thought the first 2 tracks were really great because you know,
But this also
because you're
makes
over the
sense
album by then.
why you're more of a TV guy than a movie guy.
Yeah, true. I guess.
It's a kind of similar thing of like how we all sort of individually ingest art that we're
Yeah,
like experiencing. Cause yeah,
yeah,
like you could take individual episodes within like a season of a TV show and be like, no, I really love this. I don't necessarily connect with this. Whereas I'm looking a little bit more at the sort of like overall, like where
right.
does this leave me by the end
And
of
I
this?
do I don't mention it on here, but I do factor that into my rating. I have, aside from my song ratings, I have a rating for production, length, and full album experience, which is kind of full album experience
Oh,
is kind
cool.
of how I feel about just the project on a whole, kind of like you're talking about. Um, but yeah, this is definitely a 5 star album for me. Um, Probably a top 10 album for me. Just very
Well, I
influential
hope
on my
so.
tastes.
You literally got a tattoo
Yes,
of this album title. So
yeah,
I hope it's up there for you.
definitely. I'm 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 interested to hear what you guys think of it overall. Kylan, you want to go first?
No, but I will. um, yeah, man. Okay. To go back to what I was saying just a little bit ago, like individually, each of these songs, like um, I engaged with on a much more personal level. Like as a whole, like the entire album listening experience for me, I was kind of bored by the end of it. I felt like, they, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of the thing that happens with a lot of first albums too. Like it feels like, you know, a lot of bands think like, okay, this is our shot. We're gonna kind of put everything out there.
Mhm.
And to me, the band, like it felt like they didn't exactly know what kind of band they wanted to be long term. And I think their career speaks to that a little bit, right? Like with
Yeah.
like losing members and then really ostensibly only having one other full-length album at this point,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
came 7 years after this first one.
Yeah.
Like it just seemed like an artistic project that was sort of in flux at all times. Um,
And also that next album somehow was released by Rick Rubin's record label. So make
right.
that make
Yeah,
sense.
no, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah, yeah. And but it was delayed too, because like
Yeah.
right, because it was originally supposed to be on like Warner Brothers, but then Rick Rubin
Something like that.
left, and yeah. I was reading into it a little bit. Um, yeah, I mean they like the production was incredible. The musicianship made things that are really hard seem pretty easy. Um, Emotionally, the album didn't I didn't connect with. Like I'm able to intellectualize my experience with the album. Specifically for this show and
Mhm.
for this is my other podcast. This is like literally all about this. So
Yeah.
um I would say, to fly in the face of everything AJ has said, I would put this album at a solid 3 out of 5. It's right in the middle for me, man. Like,
Do you realize that you gave Evans Blues album a higher score than this?
no, I didn't.
You
No,
gave it a
that's wrong.
3.5.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Then I'll put this at a 4.
Okay.
It's better than the Evans Blue album, I think.
Okay.
Um,
I figured you probably thought
yeah.
that.
It's too long, I
Okay.
think. I think it really just comes down to being too long. I think there could have been some harsher editorial decisions made on the album as a whole. And that's just my personal opinion on it.
This series is going to exhaust you so much. Are you sure? You
Well,
want to
no,
do this?
I don't know if you want me on the rest of this.
No, I do. I very much value and am interested in your opinion.
Okay,
Especially
all right.
considering you haven't heard most of them.
Right.
And
No, I love being able to hear these albums, and I think we talked about this on the Evans Blue episode. I can't fully remember, but like, you know, I do come to every single album like completely open-minded, right? Like, and the thing is like I don't want to dislike anything. Like it takes something pretty egregious for me to be like, "Oh, this sucks."
yeah,
Right? Like, and I don't think anything on this album sucks. To be completely clear. Like,
right.
yeah, I think it just kind of comes down to one where I'm at emotionally and mentally this week. This was not the album for me this week.
Okay.
But I can see myself like there are a couple moments on this album that I'm like, ooh, I really like that. I want to maybe go back and revisit that.
Okay.
So
I'll take that as a win.
yeah, you should. You should.
I will be surprised if there's anything on this list that you like less than the Evans Blue album, but that's going to be
Yeah, okay. I
interesting
may
to
have
see.
to if you can allow me to readjust my
Yeah, sure.
my scale
Yeah.
as we continue on.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I think you probably really would have given the Evans Blue album a 2.5 or a 3 in context of this album.
Probably.
But okay. AJ, final thoughts on this album?
So this is a really great audition album for a talented backing band or set of session musicians
Yeah.
that lack a creative songwriter or creative director. Lyrically and emotionally, I feel me. This is how I thought about it the other day, so this is what I'm going to say. It feels like really, again, that talented group of musicians was like, I don't know what to write our songs about. Let's ask Chat GTP to write lyrics.
Mm,
Um, so it doesn't shock me that like they're session musicians or are involved in the like production of Keith Urban or another musician, right? Like
Yeah.
deeply amazing, could blow me out of the water even at my very best, which was never very good as a musician. They could embarrass me with their talent, right? And production wise, this is incredible. Again, there's really clever things done, really neat things. This is one of those things that you're like, yeah, you need to listen to the songs different ways, like multiple times to catch all of the things. But it just feels very empty. Like Nate Barlow needed somebody to put some heart into the mind
Hmm.
of their music a bit. He needed a songwriting partner that is got some emotion to it. Again, deeply talented musicians, very beautiful songs, really well done.
Can I bring up
That makes sense.
okay, so I think it'll be out by the time we uh like this episode comes out, but I brought up a very specific example in our Church Names Now episode of Empty by Tate.
Oh, okay.
Um that okay, if y'all will indulge me for a second,
Go for it.
Always.
the example that I gave in that is there's an episode of King of the Hill in which Bobby Hill, he's like always joking around, and he starts taking a clowning class. I don't know if you guys remember this episode.
I
I'll see.
do.
And his clowning teacher is like this very like severe Frenchman, right? And he teaches him all of these things about clowning so that when Bobby does the talent show, it is like everything he does is a technically correct comedy routine, but it kind of falls flat. Even though like everything he does is by the book, like should work.
Mhm.
But then it's only when he starts like bringing in his own personality back into doing like fart jokes and the rubber chicken and stuff that he
Right.
actually like connects with audiences. And I don't feel as strongly about this that I do on Empty by Tate. I think that is way, 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 way more by the book.
Yeah.
But I think that speaks a little bit to like what AJ's trying to get at. Yeah, like I think it's all very like technically proficient.
Mm.
I think I personally had a little more. I felt, and it may have been like the vocal performance, but I felt a little more connected to what the lead singer and lyricist was getting at. Uh, I don't think he's the strongest songwriter,
Yeah.
um, but I did. There were moments on this album that I did believe him. And
Yeah,
believe,
I get what you're
yeah,
saying. The lyrics are not one of the elements that really draws me to
right.
this album. So yeah, I totally get that.
It feels like a worship song, right? The entire album where you're like modern ones too that are meant to evoke emotion that
Yeah.
aren't necessarily the most catchy and easy to sing
Right.
along. There was like a whole discussion I saw on like Twitter about this that like there was some conference recently and they were playing worship songs and it was all new ones and the people were like just stop trying to sing. They're like, I can't sing along with this. Like technically this is fine, but and it's meant to evoke this emotion, but you do need to they needed a pop songwriter, I think, to come in and help kind of make some of their songs and lyrics make sense and capture
Yeah,
things
yeah,
and make it to where people could sing along with it or whatever,
for sure.
and
Yeah.
not basically write sentences about recycling rain to come down again. Because again, I mean, I talked about that in that song, right? Forgiveness. I'm like, man,
Right.
I like this. This is a vibe song. I dig
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
You look at the lyrics, you're like, what? What?
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's why it feels again like okay, they obviously didn't have AI 24 years ago, but like,
Right.
hey, AI, write a song about forgiveness in a rain metaphor, and
That's so
ChatGPT
funny. I
generated
mean,
it out.
these are literally my exact notes for the Tate episode. Like that's it. Like almost verbatim, like
Oh
everything I
man.
said about that.
I
So
now I'm wanting to talk about the Tate album, but I
Uh,
guess we should probably save that.
no, I mean we can
Uh,
anytime.
I
Pete's yeah.
can't. I would need to go listen to that one. I'm sorry.
Pete Stewart plays guitar in that, and he's one of the best guitar players in to
Yeah,
come out of Christian music. So, but
for sure,
I
for
get
sure.
I get what you're saying. AJ, what was your final score?
A two, a
Two.
soft two
All right.
Out of 4?
out of three.
Oh, out of 3. Okay.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 ain't
So
bad.
so would a soft 2? Do you think that would equate to a 3 out of 5?
Yeah, roughly. Yes, roughly.
Cool.
But
Okay,
again,
so we got a soft 2 and a somewhere between a 3 and a 4,
Yeah.
basically.
no,
It's
like
not how
again,
this is
like
supposed to go,
I
Kylan.
don't dislike this. I don't dislike this album, and I
Right.
do
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sitting there saying like I'm not gonna sit there and be like I don't have an opinion on this.
Yeah.
I
Right.
will go back and listen to some of the tracks, and I think that there's some things that are well done. I like the song, I like it. But if somebody's like defend this album, if we go on Caleb the Spy, he's like defend this album, and like I'd be like, if you
Right.
want to hear a bunch of like Britpop songs, if you want to hear like the most Britpop record of the CCM taking that title from All Star United, this is
True.
probably your thing.
True.
But like that's my defense of like I don't know, this sounds like an American dude trying to write British music in the late 90s.
Yeah. And this is definitely not better than OK Computer, but I still very much prefer it to OK Computer. And I'm sure that has something to do with me hearing this probably 3 or 4 years before I heard OK Computer. And then just being in the Christian bubble. This is like this this was pretty unique for Christian music in 2000, I think.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of bands are trying to do like the YouTube thing at this time, and they were like, yeah, YouTube, but
Yeah.
like also with Radiohead.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
you know, if the guitarist from Radiohead came in and wrote music with The Edge, then you're like, okay, that's what you guys were kind of going for. So it is kind of cool and unique, and I would just kind of like to see what these guys could do with like I don't know, Jarvis Cocker from Pulp would be an interesting person, right? Like if you guys, it's cool, you guys are good, great Britpop backing band, then let's give you a Britpop frontman to write songs with.
Yeah.
Or honestly, like even beyond that, I think if they had a so I am honestly like I'm curious to listen to the other album.
Yeah, I didn't listen to any of the second album because
Very
I didn't
different.
want it to like corrupt the
Yeah,
view. And I don't know,
so
maybe you warned me about that because I was like, I think I was told that these are like two different bands basically.
It's like take the Heaven and So Far. It's much more that style, like all the like
okay.
spacey. So it's very much just pure rock and roll kind of vibes.
Yeah, so
You might like it,
really-
AJ. You might really like it.
I'm just curious if they had a because I don't know this to me suffers a little bit from like the first album thing that a lot of bands have when they don't have like a really strong producer. Like they have a technically proficient producer who's almost more just like engineering. Um, like if they had a producer that maybe was willing to like push back on some ideas or like try to get them to dig a little deeper.
They had Rick
And
Rubin on this.
yeah, they had
Yeah.
like a more cohesive vision for what the actual album was.
Right, like a creative
because-
director. It was-
Yeah, exactly. Like because I can see all of these elements, right? And I can see each of them kind of like working individually. And I think I just wanted a more cohesive like final product.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
So
All right. Well, thanks for digging into this one with me.
yeah.
Do you want to
Oh.
decide on another one now, or do you want to close out
Let's do it.
the show first?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
What
You
else are
want
we
to do it
doing?
live? Yeah, let's see let's expose
What
the process.
What were you going to say, Kylan?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do y'all want a shorter album this time?
Well, yeah, always. Hey,
Always.
here's the
Well,
thing.
Well, Dennis,
You can't ask
like,
me that
let's just go
question.
get you some like West Coast punk rock, Kylan, where it's like
No,
13
give me
minutes
a
album,
no.
like with 10 tracks.
Listen,
Like,
no. Give me a country album. 10 tracks, 30 minutes. That's all that's all I need, that's all I want.
sadly, I have no country albums in my list here.
Eric, I think I'm busy next week and in
Black Hawk came close. They're going to probably end up in my top 100 list, though. Are you not
well,
Black Hawk? You're not a Black Hawk fan?
yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. Do we ever want to cover Yesterday's Wine by Willie Nelson?
I don't think I've actually heard that one, so maybe.
Okay. Well, listen. Okay. Oh,
right.
you know what? That's actually an interesting idea for an episode. I've been trying to get the Church Names Now guys to do an episode about country music for so long.
Yeah.
Maybe I can convince both of you guys. Can I
I'm in.
sell you on a
I would do one.
on
I
a
know
country
nothing.
music
Yeah, like
episode?
Yeah, I would do one.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Okay, so let's see some of the shorter albums on this list. There is Keith Sweat's Make It Last Forever, which is 8 songs. I don't know what the actual
I love that.
length is. That is
I love that Keith Sweat.
42 minutes.
That's still so long for
8 tracks. That is kind of a long album.
That's so long.
It's a very long album for 8 tracks.
I love it though.
Kylan, you're
but
gonna
it's
hate
Keith
this.
Sweat. It's Keith Sweat though. Like, I mean, I can deal with that.
Okay, and then there's Riviera by Shadow Shadow is 36 minutes.
Great.
Let's see here.
What's absolutely shortest album?
It's going to be the K-pop album most likely, which is
Okay.
Max and Match by Odd Eye Circle. It is. Let's see.
I had a thought,
How
and I
long
don't
is
know
it?
if it's on your list, so forgive me.
It's 25 minutes.
Perfect length.
What were you going to say, AJ?
A paper out album. Is that on your initial list?
It's not on my initial list. It is.
All right. That's okay. No, I just
It
thought that-
is in
that-
my
that-
top 100.
Okay, no, that's fine.
So, yeah, it
'Cause, I mean,
it barely missed.
Wait, so if this is like your top, so
This
I
is.
know you just did it, but like it would sort of make some sense to potentially do Holiday Holiday.
That is on the list.
Kylan, are you familiar with that one at all?
Yeah, I've listened to Caleb the Spy's show. Come
I,
on.
I know, but like, have you actually listened
No,
to the?
I have. Yeah, because
And
of
like,
that
that'd be a nice
episode.
tie-in. Like that would.
You
be
did listen
really-
to the album?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Because like he played like snippets of the songs. I was like, ooh, I like this.
Okay. Well, do you want to do that one next since you're already somewhat familiar
Sure.
with it?
Sure,
It's
let's do
it's
it.
it's 50 minutes long, Kylan.
It's too long. It's too long, but that's okay. That's okay.
All right, let's do the things we've grown to love by Holiday next. That way,
Sweet. That's great.
Amen.
since you're both familiar with it, there won't be as much
Yeah.
preparation.
Sweet. Can you plug your Patreon one more time?
Yeah. I have a Patreon that I just launched. It is just search ineverglow on there, or add ineverglow, or however you find things on Patreon.
Patreon.com/ineverglow.
There you go. I'll link it in the episode. For $3 a month, you'll get all my mini reviews. I will be asking for ideas on tournaments and things like that, things that I post on Twitter a lot about.
It's a
And
way to get connected, right? Like beyond just the because I feel like Twitter is where your biggest engagement is, but
yeah,
if for every person that says every tournament is a travesty,
Yeah.
This is your chance to turn it around for only
Yeah.
$3 a month. Like you can
Yeah.
come in, you can pay $3 for 1 month and make it not a travesty.
Yeah, you like if you're invested in what I'm doing, like I will take what you say more seriously than just a Twitter poll where anybody can vote on anything. Like I would like to have a group of people who are really interested in you know, shaping things like that
For sure.
to join in and help give me some direction and things like that. Um, AJ, would you like to plug your book before we go?
Always.
This
There you
one?
go. I don't even got to grab it. It's right there. The
That's
beautiful
right.
cover.
That's right.
It's beautiful,
Guess
beautiful.
what? I'm on page 55 now.
Ooh, progress.
No, I'm
Progress.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm much further, but I thought that was a funny joke.
No, that works. But yeah, I'll always push Jesus and Joe Strummer for folks. And yeah, you can find me on AJS's writing on Twitter. I should do more with that one. I don't. At some point, I just thought about just like merging the two because I no longer kind of care about being like, no, this one's really for more academic-y stuff. I don't know if I care anymore. But yeah, AJS is writing on Instagram, on Twitter, and then that's also my website. I throw short stories up there. But yeah, Jesus and Joe Strummer. Hopefully,
It's a good book.
there you
Awesome.
go. See
Read
that
it.
that's it. That's the commercial for Church Jams now.
There
Jesus
it
and Joe
is.
Strummer. It's a good book. There you go.
Kylan, would you like to plug your podcast?
I guess. You know, I also do a podcast called Church Jams Now, where three former youth group kids and current music nerds deep dive into Christian music from the 90s and 2000s. I, of course, have another podcast with Valentine Hellman from the W's called In Defense of Kesha, where we try to find a specific Kesha song for each individual listener to get them to say they like it.
Coming soon is In
Also-
Defense of Underworld.
Oh, dude, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Yeah, if you just search in Apple Podcast, please repeat podcast. You can find a list of all the shows I'm involved in, including this show, and there's a couple other ones. So that's about it for me.
Right. And shout out again to Tim Rogers for becoming a patron.
Woo! Thank you, Tim.
All right. And we will see y'all next time as we go over the things we've grown to love by All the Day Holiday.
Sweet.
Peace.